Howdy folks, and welcome back once again to another great episode of Home Build Happiness. I'm Ron, and today we're going to switch things up a little bit. If you've been watching the channel, you know we're building this EARTHBAG shed up, and we've been basically building, and more building. Now today you'll see we have a little bit of plaster done here, and I know there's a couple questions that you might be thinking right off the bat, and I mean to go ahead and answer a few of those right now before we even get started, just to get that out of the way. And if I don't answer your question, feel free to leave it down in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer it. First thing y'all might want to know is, why now? Why are we doing this when the building's still only 2 feet off the ground? Why are we even talking about plaster before we get it fully built? Well, there's a couple reasons for that. One of the biggest reasons is that if you followed this series from the beginning, you'll know that we built a rubble trench for drainage purposes. If water splashes on the building from rain, or if we get any water that for any reason comes towards this building, we don't want that moisture to be able to hit this wall and then wick up the wall. So what a lot of folks do is this first foot of bag, they're going to use a gravel material. And what that gravel is going to do is once water comes into the bag, it's just simply going to run right down into the trench without being able to climb up the wall. The only problem with that, I could cut this off and this stuff is going to be just fine. But that gravel down there, not so much. We have to have those tubes intact because those tubes provide the structural integrity for those courses. So it's a little important that we get those covered. Also, not only can the sun degrade these bags over time, but also rodents, things like mice and kangaroo rats and so forth, they can eat into this stuff, and if they chew it up and this gravel starts to come out, we're gonna have problems with the wall off the bat. Second reason is time is of the essence right now. Right now we're going into September. We're already getting highs that are like in the 70s. We're getting lows at night that are starting to get into the 50s. And in about a month and a half, we're gonna get freezing temperatures at night. With this plaster, it generally takes a couple days for it to dry, so you're gonna go overnight. And if it's freezing at night, we're gonna be in trouble. So we wanna get this covered before winter. Now what we're going to be using is a traditional stucco mix, but we're going to be making it ourselves with Portland cement, lime, and sand. And I know some of you might be wondering, why aren't you using earth and plaster? Usually if you build an EARTHBAG building, you're going to use some sort of an earth plaster. I'm a newbie at this. This right here is the second mix of plaster I've ever made in my entire life. I'm just trying to learn the stuff. And once you get into some of those earth plasters, they get a little bit more complex. They can get a little bit more tricky. I need like the preschool, kindergarten level of this until I understand how these plasters work. Now later on, we are going to experiment with a little bit of earth plaster. We'll talk about it later on in a few other episodes. But right now we're about to get started. Now we are going to do what's called a moist cure with this stucco. That's the third question. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But let's get suited up. I'm going to give you guys a point of view angle. You'll see me mix it up. And then we'll go ahead and get started applying a little bit of it, all right? And just start working this material right on in. Now I like to put just enough to where like you see it kind of wants to come off the edges of the knife to each side. It kind of pushes itself out. I like that because that means that it's working into the mesh, which is what I want. And that's why I make this mix just a little bit wetter than a lot of people would recommend, because I want it to sink into that mesh. I want it to get behind there. So we got to get some material right here on the outside of this. And the best way that I've seen to do it, just get in with your hands and just get dirty. Grab some, we're gonna put it on, and with kind of an upward motion, we're just gonna rub it right across, just kind of driving it right into that mesh. Just a little bit at a time, just like we're making mud pies and just smearing them. We're just gonna get it right in there. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. All we're trying to do is cover the red. If we get that covered, we've got subsequent layers that are going up, a brown coat and a finish coat. We can make it pretty then. Matter of fact, you want it a little rough so you can give it something to adhere to. You don't want it too smooth. If it falls down, just smear it on in. Not really a big deal. I really like it to kind of, you know, run into those little cracks and crevices and just kind of conform to what I'm working with. And you can do that when it's nice and wet like this. If y'all want to know one thing about filming in the desert, kind of a little behind the scenes action, GoPros cannot take the heat. There we go. So one thing about this is that cement doesn't cure by drying, it chemically cures, and in order for that chemical cure to happen, you have to have it damp or moist. Out here in the desert, it's dry, and if this stuff flash dries, which it can do in a matter of an hour and a half, if that happens, you're done. It's gonna be very soft, it'll be very brittle, it won't be very strong, and we want this stuff to be nice and hard to hold this stem wall together. So what I've done is I've paper clipped a towel up here. We're just gonna drape it over, and then we're gonna soak that towel down. We're just gonna mist it with water. That's gonna provide not only a sun barrier, but also a moisture barrier and a wind barrier, and keep this nice and moist. We wanna keep it brown like this for about 36 hours. Make it nice and strong. All we're gonna do is drape this over, put this on the mist setting. All right, let's get ready to go. Let's build some walls. All right, folks, we've taken a brief intermission so that our GoPro can cool down and get back in the action. I went ahead and cut the bags for these 3 buttresses here and that piece of tubing by our door frame. That's a total of 10 linear feet. We're gonna go ahead and squash this. Let's go. Well, that's it for today. I'll be back out here tomorrow. And for you guys, that'll be in 3, 2, 1. Hey folks, it's another day. We're back again on the EARTHBAG shed project. Got Lauren with us. She's gonna be doing a little bit of bucket filling, a little bit of transporting. I'm gonna be running the mixer, filling the wall. We might share a little bit of tamping. Lauren, how's the weather feeling?
Nice.
You doing all right? All right, folks, let's get to work on it. That's it for today, but we'll be back here same time, same place. You know, if it's nice and clear tonight, I might even do some stargazing. I don't know.
So that when I look up at the night sky and I know that yes, we are part of this universe, we are in this universe, but perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us.